Today's video is going to be an extension of a video that I've made before. Um, it's about what goes into code emails. So if this is your first time here, you are a potential graduate student and you don't know what goes into writing code emails to professors and faculties, department chair, then I will entreat you to go to my YouTube, Ivagas Online. Also go to Facebook, Ivagas TV, and watch out. You can search for that video. You're going to find a lot of context and a lot of information on what goes into a code email. But today, as I was, on LinkedIn, I realized my own brother, Festus Eno. He's also a content creator. If you've not followed him yet, you want to check him out on LinkedIn. He has a YouTube channel as well. But I was just going through my feeds on LinkedIn, and I came across one of his posts where he talked about how to structure a code email and how to get a response, a positive response from such code emails. So I found it to be very interesting, and I read through, realized he had good content there. But one thing that stood out to me was in his comment section, a professor came to say some of his pet peeves when it comes to code emails. And I realized that these are things that I've not mentioned before, I've not really talked about. Even if I have, I feel he added some new stuff that I'll be able to share with potential graduate students or potential undergraduate students who have the desire to come to the United States to pursue their bachelor's or master's or PhD degree. So let's move right into it. This is from Musba Shaheen. He is assistant professor of higher education. So under Festus' post, he came to write another great post. My biggest pet peeve when I receive this type of email is getting the type of program wrong, often suggesting that the applicant won. So before I go into Professor Musba's post, what he's trying to say is that he is a professor, he's been receiving emails from students, he's been receiving code emails from potential grad students, potential students, and sometimes, most often, what actually frustrates him or what actually might not let him pay attention to your email is the fact that one, not paying attention. So the first point, if you are a prospective student and you want to send cold emails and engage faculties and let them know that I'm interested in your program, one thing is for you to pay attention to whatever thing that you are writing in the code email. Because if the program is actually Master of Arts, but when you were addressing the professor, when you were reaching out to the professor, you said Master of Science. Master of Arts and Master of Science are two different, specializations. So this means you are not paying attention. And the moment a professor finds out that even the course or the program you are not getting it right, that is a red flag or a pet peeve for some professors, right? Now, the second thing that Professor Musba is saying is that indiscriminatory emailing people. For example, so that I actually didn't understand, but I think he's going to break it down. For example, if the program is an MED, Masters in Education, and you indicate interest in MA, Master of Arts program, that is a red flag. So this is what I actually said. So he's just re-emphasizing that. Another pet peeve is asking questions that are already answered on our website. This is something that you should also pay attention to. If you are reaching out to a professor, you are reaching out to a programs coordinator, you have to make sure that whatever thing that you are going to ask is something that they've not, maybe encountered or they've not been asked before. That is why I entreat students that if you want to send code emails to professors, make sure you visit the school's website, visit your program's website, and check everything. Make sure that they are answering or there are things that are attending to your doubts, and you are satisfied with what the program says in terms of their requirement, in terms of what goes into the application. Now, if you are not so satisfied with the things on the department website, The next thing for you to do is to check the FAQs, right? Which is the frequently asked questions, because sometimes they know international students and other students, even domestic students, would want some, debriefs and would want some answers to their questions or to their doubts. So the FAQs are, just a section or a part of their administrative processes where they go into some of the potential questions that you might have. So if maybe you want to ask about funding decisions and at the end of the day that has been answered already in their FAQs, it's not a good sign. It means that you've not really taken time to go through their department website to check some of these things. So sometimes when you reach out to a professor and you are asking a question that is already on the website, sometimes they just go to the website, copy the link and send it to you. That is not a good sign. You are coming as a student where you're going to do a lot of research, and even at this basic level you are not able to do research by yourself on your own. It is a red flag. So that professor or that program coordinator in some circumstances might not even recommend you for maybe admission or let's say funding. I'm just saying, but you don't want to be making that mistake. So that is what Professor Musba is saying here. So he says, for example, questions you included are all answered on our website quite clearly. So that is what I just said. Also, avoid questions we can't answer, like what are my prospects of being admitted? So that is another point. Stop asking questions that sometimes it's very difficult for them to answer. If you are asking a professor or a programs coordinator, what are your chances of getting admitted? You can't ask that question because you've not submitted your application, you've not submitted the required documents and all of that. So how would they be able to tell if you are going to get admitted or you are going to get funding? It's going to be very difficult because at the end of the day, it's going to be very hard for them to tell you the exact processes or how the decisions are going to be made. For all you know, that professor might not be part of the admissions committee, right? So you want to refrain from asking some of these questions: that what are my chances of getting scholarship? What are my chances of getting into your program? Check the website. Do you meet the requirement? Put in the application. And if you have to send cold emails, avoid some of these things. So that is what Professor Musba was saying. So he says, I've also avoid questions we can't answer, like what are my prospects of being admitted, or do I have a chance of being admitted? He can't tell. The programs coordinator can't tell. And even if they can tell, I feel it will be against some of their practices, some of their policies, because if they can tell that you are going to get into their program, it's not going to be fair enough. It's going to make your head big. Because you just put in an application, oh, I've gotten into this school, whilst I've not even submitted my application. It might lead to some form of being biased and all of that. So please refrain from asking some of these questions in your code emails. And he says the simple answer is we don't know until we receive your full application and consider you among the applicant pool. So that is what I've been saying. Until you submit your documents and they holistically check the number of students that are applied and make decisions, a professor can't really tell whether you're going to get admitted or not. If even if they can, they are in rare circumstances, and I believe it's not a good sign as a prospective student to go in and be asking such questions. And also mind your attachment. So this is another point. Attachment. I've said this over and over again in my code emails, that when you are sending code emails, because they don't know you, because you don't want to be like a robot, sometimes you can add your CV and your transcript. But Professor Musba has an important thing here to say, and he's saying that personally, I don't read CV that are shared with me unless the student is interested in my area of research. My advice would be to be specific in your communications and requests. So be specific in your communications and in your requests. Made videos where I talked about sometimes you having to attach your CV and a part of your transcript if you want. But here he's making it clear that until your research interest or until what you're coming to do in the school aligns with that particular professor's area or specialization, there's no need to add your CV because he might not even look at it. Imagine you are chatting me maybe as a professor, and what you want to come and do in terms of your research area does not align with mine. There is no need for you to attach your CV or your transcript because I might not really have the interest to look at it. But in a very different case where the professor you are chatting, you know, is someone that you admire, someone that you've read their work and it aligns with what you want to do, then you adding your CV or your transcript makes a lot of sense, right? So the last thing that Professor Mushba is saying is that, um, as you noted, coordinate program coordinators are often also full-time faculty with competing priorities. So if you send generic emails, you can expect a generic response. And I agree with him on that. The fact that you have to send professors emails and the fact that you have to send um, program coordinators emails is for you to know that at the end of the day, the faculty might just be like a faculty and might not have other roles to play as compared to a programs coordinator. A programs coordinator is not just serving in their capacity as maybe a program coordinator. Like some of them have these dual positions where they serve as program coordinators and they are also faculties at the same time. So they are very, very, very busy. So you can't be sending a coordinator messages, department chair messages, and the messages are not direct, they are not specific. So please be mindful of that. Check that. There are some schools they don't require you to send cold emails. You check that. There are some schools you have to secure a supervisor or advisor before you apply. You have to check that. Thank you very much. Bye.